Let's look at my top 10 mixing features found in Cubase. What is going on, my friend? Chris Salim here from MIXDOWN Online. Before we start this video, I just want to note that my Cubase course, The Ultimate Guide to Cubase, is at 40% off for Black Friday, starting today. So today until Sunday. Link is down below. Now, for all of you who are not subscribed yet to my channel, please do so. Click that subscribe button below, the notification bell, so you don't miss anything. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share and to like. Okay, now let's jump in Cubase and let's look at those top 10 mixing features that I like to work with. Now, there's way more than 10, okay, but those are my top favorite mixing features. Okay, so let's jump in Cubase and check this out. First, a feature that I like to work with, that I actually work with all the time, is the pre section on the straight on the mixing console. Okay, so if you look right here on top, you have the pre tab, and that will hold the high pass filter, low pass filter, the gain knob, and also the polarity, okay, the phase. So if you want to switch the polarity, you just activate phase on and off. And this is a very fast access to those parameters that I use all the time. So every time while mixing that I need a high pass filter or a low pass filter, or I just want to gain stage my sound, I'm going to just go straight on my mix console under my pre-tab and work this out right away. Now, if you don't see that pre-tab because it's not visible by default, you are going to need to go right on top under racks and make sure that pre-filter gain phase is checked on. So this way you will have it visible straight from the mix console. Now, the next feature that I work with a lot is the channel settings window. There you go. So this is a very cool feature that we have in Cubase, and that will apply on all channels: effects, group channels, instrument channels, and of course audio channels. So to access the channel settings window, the only thing you need to do is to click on this little guy, the E icon for edit channel settings. And there you go. Now you can also access this straight from the project window. Okay, your E is going to be right on top when you have one channel selected. Okay, and there's also the key command Shift plus E that will open the edit channel settings window. And this is what we get. So this is actually an overview of the selected channel from all the inserts that we have on the left, and we have also the channel strip that we have access to from this window. And if we look in the middle part, we have by default the equalizer, the channel strip. One more time. So for the channel strip, we have the visual look right in the middle, and we also have access to all the modules from the left side of the channel settings window. And then we have the sends on the right, and also the panning. If you want to pan your sends, this is where you're going to be able to do it. Then we have the Q sends also. And the cool thing is that on top we have the selected channel, and we also have, like in this case, I have a group channel selected. So I'm going to have all the channels coming into this group channel right here. So I know that in this case I have those 4 channels that are routed straight into my mix drum group. And then I have my outputs. So I have the output where my channel is going, and also the sends, okay, which are the targets. Then if I click on this one, it's a show output chain. So this will show me all the channels following the output of this selected channel. So in this case, my mix drum bus is going straight into the stereo out, which is then going into my main master output. You can also extend that window and add direct routing if you want to, or output chain, which is exactly what we did by clicking on this icon right here. So that is the channel settings window. Very useful. I work with it all the time when I need to just add a quick EQ on a channel, or using the channel strip, or even working with the pre-gain or my high pass and low pass filters. They are accessible from the channel settings window, also on top of the mix console, which is quite cool. let's not move away from the channel settings window because we are going to look at the channel strip. That is another very cool feature that I like to work with in Cubase when mixing. The channel strip is super nice. It's going to give you access to a bunch of different modules, which are basically plugins, but they are all located on every channels in Cubase, like audio channels, group, effects channels, instrument channels. So it's very cool. It's a very fast access to get a hold of some different type of effects, like a gate, a compressor, actually 3 compressors. And we of course have the EQ, which is this one right here. And then we have tools like a de-esser or even an envelope shaper, some saturation, and also some limiting. So there's a bunch of stuff that we have access to, part of this channel strip, which is quite cool. You can also move those modules around. So if you want to have the EQ at first, just drag this one to the left, or just move them from the left zone of the channel settings window, and that will do the same thing. Also, you can bring that channel strip pre-inserts. By default, the inserts are going to come first, and then the signal is going to go straight into the channel strip. If you want to switch that around, you only need to just click on that small icon, and now your channel strip is going to be the first in the signal chain, and then the signal is going to go in the inserts. Next, Quick Link. Very cool feature in Cubase, very useful when mixing. It's just the ability to select several tracks in your project and quick link them if you need to apply the same type of moves or processing to several channels at the same time. Instead of grouping them together on a permanent level, you can just quick link them. So they're going to be linked together only when quick link is activated. And you can find the quick link right here on top by clicking on the Q Link tab right here on top to activate quick link. So for example, let's take these I think I have like 6 guitar tracks. I'm going to select them all. My quick link is active. So if I bring down one fader, it's going to bring all of them all together. If I insert a plugin, so let's go and insert, let's look for frequency. All right. Now it's going to insert frequency on all those selected channels. Very, very cool. And the cool thing is, by having them all selected at the same time, plus quick link, if I make a move on my EQ, it's going to apply the same move on all of them. So let's add a high pass filter on this one. There you go. And if I look at all the other frequencies that I have on all channels, there you go. So I have the same high pass filter setting. If I move one knob here, let's move this one. And let's activate, the third one. There you go. And look at that, they are all connected and linked together. So this is actually pretty cool. All right, so I'm going to remove all of these all together. And if you click on Shift and Alt, that will activate Quick Link as far as you keep pressing on those 2 keys. And this is very cool if you need to Quick Link a few tracks without activating on a more permanent level the Quick Link option. So by just pressing on Shift and Alt, that will activate the Quick Link as far as you keep your fingers on those keys. Next, we have quick bussing is something that I like a lot in Cubase. So let's say I want to add an effects channel track to all of those 3 selected tracks. I'm going to select them first and then right click and go straight to add effects channel to selected channels. We can also do the same for group channels and also VCA fader to selected channels, which is very cool. So let's do it by adding an effects channel to those selected tracks. And this is what we get. Okay, so I'm gonna just choose my effect, which is I'm gonna keep it with this EMT 140 reverb, configuration, stereo, the output, I'm gonna just put it straight into the master output, and then I have the choice between outside folder or inside folder. I'm gonna select outside folder, so this way the effects channel is gonna create itself right by those selected channels. Let me call this one verb and click on add track. There you go. Now I have my plugin open and then I have my reverb effects channel track. And if you noticed, I already have on those 3 channels, I have them already sent to the effects channel that I created. So the sends are going straight into this effects channel track, which is quite cool. Let's do the same and create a group channel. So I'm going to right click again. This I'm going to click on add group channel to selected channels. And then again, I'm going to have configuration. I'm going to set this one to stereo. Output, let's keep it to master. Create outside folder. That's great. And I'm going to name this one elect GR4. Click on add track. And there you go. I have my my group channel track, and all those 3 channels that I selected before are routed. As you can see on top, the output of those channels are going straight into this group channel track, which is quite nice. Something that you can also do, and this is something that I did on my end, is to create a shortcut, a key command. So to do so, click on edit, go down to key commands, and under mixer, you will see add the track to selected group channel, to selected effects channel, and also to VCA fader. And I created myself a custom key command for each of those commands, which increases my workflow like crazy. I use this all the time. So let's add a VCA fader to these 2 channels. Okay, I'm going to select them both. In my case, I selected Control Shift and V. And there you go. I have my VCA fader that is controlling those 2 selected channels. Super cool. Next, we have the control room. Now, the control room is found on the right zone from the mix console or straight on the project window. And this is what we see here on the right, the control room. Now, I made a few months ago a video talking only about the control room and why I like to use it. So I'm going to leave the link down below. Now, in mixing, when I mix, I love to use the control room, especially to manage my reference tracks. So when I work with a reference track, I love to use the control room to manage that out. So by clicking on C1, it's going to give me access to my reference tracks. So I can just go from C1 to mix, to go from my mix source to my Q1 source, which in this case is my reference track. I also made a video on this specifically, so go watch it. I'm going to leave the link down below. So if you have CUBASE Pro, I'm going to encourage you to work with the control room, which is very useful for recording and also for mixing. Next, we have the different zones in CUBASE. As you can see, and I talked about that before, but it is one of my favorite mixing features in CUBASE. Now, we have 3 different zones here in straight on the mixing console. As you can see, the right side of my console, I have some channels that are static. They are not moving. And same for the left zone of the mix console. I have that one reference channel that is not moving when I move my mixer around, and this is very simple to work with. So I'm going to activate the main left zone, and that is going to give me access to all my channels by clicking on the visibility tab on top. If I go down, I have 2 tabs, the channel tabs and the zone tab. So I need to click on zones. I need to make sure that zones is the one selected, and then I'm going to have the list of all of my channels part of my session. And if you look here, I have 3 dots. There's the center dot, which is the default position for all channels, but I can also bring all of them to the left zone or to the right zone of the mix console. Okay, so this is what's happening here. So all of those channels on the right side of my mixed console are these ones. They are positioned to the right side of my mix console, and that is why they are not moving. And same for my reference track right here on top. This one is positioned to the left side of the mix console. So this way they don't move, they always stay static, and I always have them visible when I mix in the mix console. Another mixing feature that is very useful in CUBASE is the plugin folders. This is something that increases my workflow like crazy. Let's say I want to insert a plugin. I have my custom plugin collection that are all categorized in different folders. I have one folder for limiters, for transient designers, one for gates, de-essers, and so on, which is very practical. It's super fast for me to just click on my favorite EQ plugin or compressor plugin. I just need to go straight into the folder and select my favorite plugin. Super fast and easy to work with. To set that up, I talked about that before, but just to make that quick, you click on top on Studio and you just open the VST plugin manager. On the left, there's the VST effect tab, and this is what you need to select. This is going to list all of your plugins installed on your system, and on the right side you will have your collections. By default, this one is going to be set up to this look, which is all the plugins that you have installed. Basically, you can actually sort them by vendors like they are right now, or by category like this. So this is the default state when you open this window. So from that point on, you can create yourself a new empty collection and name that one. Let's name this one test. Click on OK. And there you go. From that point, I can just drag and drop any plugins from the left VST effect zone to the right straight into this new collection, or create a folder, So there you go, folder, and just drag this one into a folder. Create several of them, create your own personal collection this way. Very easy to work with. Now you can create more than one collection, and by clicking on this small icon, that will give you access to all the collections that you have on your system, that you have created in the most part. So I'm going to click on my Chris Fav collection, which is my main one, and there you go. And this way, every time I insert a plugin, I'm going to get straight into my collection. Now, the next feature that I use on a regular basis is external effects. So this is used when you have some analog gear that you want to mix with. So let's open the audio connections window and look for external effects. And this is where you'll be able to add any external analog gear that you want to work with. Like in my case, I don't have a lot. I have the Stam Audio. It's a type of a Pultec EQ that I work with, once in a while, and also the Tegler Creme that I kind of work with a lot. This one is only for my stereo bus, so it's a stereo bus compressor anyway. So this is how I use it also. So I have my send and my return. So the sends are basically the signal going out of Cubase that is actually going straight into the compressor. Then the output of the compressor is going back into my sound interface on input 7 and 8, and this is how I can route them straight in Cubase. Once I'm done with the setup, I can insert that as a plugin. So I'm going to click on Insert, and by default, it will be under External Plugins right here. So you click on that, and you'll have a list of all your external devices that you set up on straight-in audio connection. So I'm going to click on Tegler Creme, and this is what I'm going to get. So it's going to be a small, tiny window, which is going to show me the amount of gain that I'm sending, the amount of signal I'm sending to my analog unit, and the return gain also. And that's it. That's the only thing you need to do. If there's a type of a delay problem, you can actually click on Measure Delay. And if there's a problem, Cubase will compensate for it by clicking on this Measure Delay. But for the most part, the Cubase does a delay compensation automatically. Now for the last mixing feature, the quick sidechain feature. So I'm going to open frequency, and this is on the bass channel. So let's say, it's not the case, but let's say I want to use dynamic EQ. This is frequency 2, a part of Cubase 11. So let's say I want to use dynamic EQ and have my kick drum to be the sidechain signal feeding the dynamic EQ. Now in this case, I have two bands that I want to use as a sidechain. So what I'm going to do here is to select an input, a sidechain input for each band. So the first one, I'm going to select sidechain 1, and this one, the second, sidechain 2. All right, so one for each. Then I'm going to click on top. Right here on top, I have the setup sidechain routing. Very cool feature. And there you go. Now this is a very cool way to do quick side chaining. So I have my sidechain inputs, and this is new to Cubase 11, where you have access to several inputs if the plugin you work with, like Frequency, supports it. So in this case I can, because Frequency will allow me to select more than one sidechain input. So I will see those 8 available sidechain inputs straight from this sidechain routing window. So I'm going to select the first one, and I'm going to click on Add Sidechain Source. I'm going to look for my kick drum. Then let's create a new one, sidechain number 2, and I'm going to do the same thing. Let's create it with the same source, the same kick drum, and that's it. Now the only thing I need to do from this point is to choose if I want to have them pre or post fader, and then just activate right here by clicking on this icon. That will activate the side chain. And that's it. Now if I click on this E icon, there you go, that will open my source channel, which is the kick drum, and we have our kick drum signal going into the first sidechain and then the second sidechain also. Everything is already set up and ready to go. So those are my top 10 favorite mixing features found in Cubase. Now, I know that there's way more than 10 mixing features in Cubase, so what I want you to do is to list your top favorite mixing features that you like to work with in Cubase. Leave everything down below on top of your questions if you have some. All right, my friends, so this is going to be it for today. Share, like, and subscribe to the channel if you are not already. Until next time, take care and see you.